Crafting the perfect Script Supervisor Daily Log. Now that's what we're going to be tackling today. And we're going to be doing that in 3 different steps. The first step is going to be what is a daily log and what are the elements of a good daily log. Number 2, we're going to be going over some samples of some daily logs. And then finally 3, I'm going to be showing you my daily log and how you can get a copy for yourself. So let's do this. Now, before we dive into the details of this report, I want to explain to you the purpose of the daily log. And this is important because I see some logs missing some really important information while at the same time putting information that really isn't necessary. So what is the daily log? Well, in a nutshell, it's the chronological record of all the shots that were shot that day. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because it's a very important tool when trying to troubleshoot issues with a camera roll or a sound roll, or I should say digital cards, because we don't really call them film rolls anymore. So say, for example, the editor came to you and said, there's a problem with camera roll A4, which we shot 2 days ago. Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your and you're going to see when you switch to camera roll A4 and see what shots were done on that roll. And this tells the editor or the director what shots they need to reshoot, if they need to reshoot them at all. So for example, say you started the day with camera roll A3 and you went through some setups, and then the last setup on that was a master shot of the scene. Then you change to camera roll A4, and that's where you shot the full shot of Mary from that scene. Well, you don't have to reshoot the master shot because that was on camera roll A3, but you do have to reshoot the full shot of Mary, which was on roll A4. So just imagine if we didn't have this log to refer to, how would we get the information? Well, we'd have to go through the entire script to find the roles to give them the shots that they're looking for. Because remember, we shoot out of order. So it's a quick reference of what was shot that day and on what roles they used. Now you might be thinking, why am I repeating the same information from the daily log and the description page? Well, there's one distinct reason. The daily log has information in shooting order, and the description page has the information in script order. So this is one more way that we can quickly reference shots when we need to. Okay, the first section of the form, or the top section of the form, is going to have the title, the page number and count, the production company, project title, day of shooting, the date, director's name and episode if it applies, or if you want to put it, that's not necessary. If it's in green, it's optional. Okay, so the second half, or the bottom half, is going to have the camera roll, the sound roll, the scene number, take, time, print, lens, shot description and comments, the setup number, and the script supervisor's name and information. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples. Okay, so here are some samples that I got off of the internet, and you can do the same thing. Just go to Google and type in Script Supervisor's Daily Log and click on the image tab, and it's going to bring up a whole slew of them. And you can look at a whole bunch of other samples yourself. I just thought these couple were kind of interesting. So just so you know, anything that I have in yellow means that I feel that it's necessary to have on this particular form. What's in red I feel is necessary, but is not on this form. What's in green, I feel is really unnecessary to put on this form. Now, if you look at the information in green, not that that information is not necessary, it is very necessary, but all that information I put on my daily wrap report. So it's important to be consistent because the production office has to know, where are they going to find this information? Are they going to find it on the log, or are they going to find it on the report? And I feel the report is where I put it because that has all the totals of what was done that day. So for example, on this one here, it has the first shot and the total camera rolls, the wild tracks, all of that I put on the report again. So they always know where to find it. Now, in section 2, we have our columns where we put all our shot information. And this particular one has most of the shot information. As you notice there in yellow, it has it all in there. The one column that I see that is not here is the setup number. And I feel it's important to put a setup number column there because that way at the end of the day, you're not having to count every single setup to put the total on the wrap report, which is most likely what this person does. And also, many times you'll have the DP turning around to you and saying, "Hey, how many setups have we done today?" Because it's a big badge for them to know how many setups we did because they want to know they've really been working hard. And it's a reason. It's a really easy reference to say, "Oh, okay, well, we did, 48 setups up to this point, and you don't have to go over there and count every single one." So that's important. Now, the one thing it also has on here is the page credit and the page count. Again, those are the things that I have on my wrap report. I don't put it here because I feel this report is really just to have all the shots in shot order with the rolls, the camera rolls, and the sound rolls, so we have an easy reference of what was shot on those rolls. And the other thing that I see that is not on here, and well, they have it actually at the very top where it says Script Supervisor up there. That's where the Script Supervisor would put their name. But I put it in green because I always put my name and information, phone number, and email address at the very bottom. I pre-printed on all of my forms so that they always have a way of contacting me in case they have a question or problem. And also, it's also happened to me before where actually somebody saw my notes and they said, "Oh, these are really great. Who did them?" And I've actually had people call me and say, "I saw your notes and they're really great." And they were able to do that because my information was on the bottom of the form. So that's really important. And also, it saves you one more step of having to put your name on every single form. Again, if you can pre print a lot of that information ahead of time, it saves you time when you're actually shooting on the set. Now, the other thing that, if you notice on section 2, where it says second page is in red, well, what that means is it doesn't mean that they don't have a second page. It's just, I just didn't find a second page. And your second page is going to be different than your first page because your second page isn't going to have a lot of that heading information. But again, not to say that this one didn't have it, I just didn't find it on the internet. Okay, so here's another sample, and this is a pretty good sample. If you notice, there's a lot of yellow elements there, very few red ones. And let's take section 1. We have the total, the title, the production company, page count, and number, project title, date, shooting, and day of shooting. The reason I put in green there, episode, is because if this was episodic, you would definitely want to put the episode information there because you want to know what episode it's pertaining to. But in this case, it may be that this wasn't an episodic, so they just left it up. Now let's look at section 2 here. It has all the basic information, the camera roll, sound roll, all of that. The one thing I do see here is that there's a column for sync and MOS. Now, I feel that that's an unnecessary column because if it were MOS, I would put it in the sound roll column. So, for example, you started with scene 21 and roll 3, sound roll 3. Say when you went to take 7, they were decided to go MOS. So I would put the MOS in that sound roll column and say they went back to sound on take 8, and then I would put 3 right in that section there. So then we know that it continues on from that point on. So again, it's just saving space by not having to put a designated column there. Also, it has the master time, which again, this is perfectly fine to put here. I just calculate my times on my production wrap report. So in this particular one, they decide they want to put it on their log, which is okay too. Um, so you see that there where it says master time a minute 20. So, which is perfectly fine. The other thing I didn't see or couldn't find on this particular report was a second page, and which again, it could didn't doesn't necessarily mean there isn't one. It just means I couldn't find one, or they would use the same page for if they had to do another page. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't have the script supervisor's name. It doesn't even have it at the top there of where they can put it. Always put your name and your phone number and your information of how to contact you at the bottom of every single form. Pre-print it so that you don't have to keep doing it. Okay, so here's another sample, and this particular one does have a second page, and I'm going to show you that on my next slide, but I just want to go over the first page first. Now, if you look at the top here, it has very minimal information, which is great because you don't want a whole lot of information other than how to identify the project. In this particular case, they put down that a line for the course name and number. So this project is working on some kind of a class video or filming situation. So they have a line designated for that, which is important because it's identifying the project. The one thing I don't see on here is the page number and count. So, for example, if there were 3 pages of this log, I wouldn't know that. If I just see this one page, I'd say, oh, this is all I got. But if it said 1 of 3 or 1 of 2, I know, oh, there's 2 pages on here. So I got to find that other second or third page. Also, the day of shooting is not on here either. So if this was, say it was a series and it was day 2 of day 8 that you're shooting, that's important to put on there as well. Let's look at your second section. Two very important things that are not on the columns is your camera rolls and your setups. Okay, remember this whole log is if there's an issue with the camera roll because it's in shooting order, you can very easily see what rolls are on, or what scenes are on that roll. And then there isn't a designated column for setups. Again, this person probably went through and just counted every single setup and then put down their total. But if you have a designated column, it's just easier. That way you don't have to do any counting. Okay, let's look at the second page. So here's their second page. Now, if you notice, it's just a mirror image of the first page. The only difference is at the top, there's very little information. So really, the only thing you want up there is just information to tie this form to the top sheet or the first page, okay, which they've done here. Now, again, the other things that are not on this form is the camera roll and the setup number. So, that's again very important to have that on there. And also, I want to note down here it says the script supervisor's name and the signature. So apparently, it was important for this production to make sure that the script supervisors signed their name because they wanted to make sure that that they were responsible for those numbers. So that was important for this particular project. But again, if you just type your name in there or pre-print your name and information in there, that's really all you need unless it's required by the particular project. Okay, so now here are those two forms side by side. As you can see, they're a pretty cohesive form. So you know that it's titled at the very top there, Script Supervisor's Continuity Log or Daily Log, whatever you want to call it, as long as it has log in there. And then it just has, the same information. The only thing is the second page is going to have less on the top because you really need it more for a second page just to continue your setups. Okay, and let's take a look at my forms now. Okay, these are my forms. Now, this is the first page and the second page side by side. And if you notice, I'm a very visual person. I like to have the forms look a little pretty with shading and, black lines to designate the certain areas. That's just me. You can make your form look any way, whatever is comfortable for you. But this is what I like to do. And also, if you notice at the top there on the first page, it says page 1 and then a slash and then a line. That means, that you're going to put the number of pages that they are on the first page. And then if you notice the second page, it has a slash and a slash. You're going to say, okay, this is page 2. And say there's 4 pages. You're not going to put that last number in until at the end of the day when you finally say, okay, I ended up with 4 pages for the day. Then you're going to go back to those pages and you're going to fill in the 4, 4, 4 for all that second slot. So the first one would be 1 of 4. The second, the first one would be 1 of 4. The second would be 2 of 4, and so on. All right, and also if you notice at the very bottom there, I pre-printed my name and contact information. That's real important. That way I don't have to keep putting it in there, and it's always in there. I would also pre-print the production company information and the title because that's not going to change on this particular project. So if I pre-print it, I don't have to worry about having to put it in every single day. So it's one less thing that I have to put in. I like to put the director's name in there. I actually had some extra space, and that's why I put director, because the episode isn't going to, take that much space. So I just thought, it'd be good to put the director's name in there. Your second page is not going to have or need all that information because, it has it on the first page. So these are my forms. If you want to get a copy of them, just click on the link below in the comments section and you can very easily get it. So that's the Script Supervisor's Daily Log. Now, if you have any questions about this report or anything I've covered here today, please let me know in the comments, because really it's the only way that I know that it's resonating with you or not. Now, here's your homework. Now, we've only been going over the daily log, but there are 4 different forms that a script supervisor uses on set. Now, this video here will give you an overview of those 4 forms, and this video here is the daily progress report, which is another one of those forms. So click on those videos and we'll see you on the next one.